Hi, I'm Kate Trosky, and I'm a graduate student at Morningside University and a kindergarten teacher at Anson Elementary in Marshalltown. I did my research project on the effect of using project-based learning to improve the early reading skills in kindergarten students. The National Early Literacy Panel stated that children in kindergarten that don't have those beginning literacy skills like decoding and reading comprehension, writing, and oral fluency that will help them later learning literacy. Harvey and Daniels also wrote that there are decades of research about the numerous benefits of interactive teaching and learning, yet students today are spending most of their day working alone or listening to a teacher talk. So because of that statement, that is why I chose to do research on this topic, because students are not currently being taught in the most beneficial way. The focus has kind of been on addressing deficits instead of taking a more proactive, preventative approach and changing our teaching style. Some past interventions that have been used are a preschool language-focused intervention called Learning Language and Loving It. And that is based on the theory that children learn language through natural social interactions. And they found in their study that helped the students who already had high-level skills but didn't really help the rest of the class. Response to intervention is another common intervention that teachers use that provides instruction matched to the student's needs, which is also very similar to differentiated instruction. And in that study, using that, oral reading fluency was the one area that did not show much growth for the students. And then Lee and Schallert used an extensive reading intervention with some 8th grade students in South Korea, and they improved an average of 4 points out of a possible 100 on their measurement. And so they improved more on writing than on reading. Some project-based learning research has showed that Havoc and Holm showed in kindergarten students in Europe that it helped improve their content learning, engagement, and their positive perceptions about school. And then Harvey and Daniels state that when using project-based learning, the teachers are providing the tools that are needed to be successful and letting the students investigate and explore instead of just talking to the students all day long. Duke, Halverson, and Strachan state that project-based learning gives students the opportunity to make choices about what they read, which can be relative to their life and interesting to them, and it gives them real-life experience and helps them develop literacy a lot more quickly. Studies with project-based learning in math with kindergarten students have showed their improved ability to acquire the math language that they needed and improved their spatial orientation and visualization. And then studies with project-based learning in science showed a higher motivation for learning and also understanding of those scientific inquiry and processing skills. So project-based learning is very closely related to the constructivist theory, and that theory is based on Vygotsky's social development theory, which is based on social interaction, the student's previous knowledge, collaboration with teachers, peers, or a computer, and then there's zone of proximal development, which is the difference between what a student can do with and without help. So most project-based learning, as I shared, is mostly used in middle school and higher education. It's based in science and math, and any that has been used in the primary grades has been in other countries. And so that's why there's little to no research on its effects of reading in kindergarten students in the United States. The purpose of this study is teaching reading using project-based learning in hopes that it would improve early reading skills in kindergarten students. So there were 44 participants, 22 in each classroom. The experimental classroom was the one that used project-based learning, and the control group used skills-based learning. So you can kind of see a breakdown of the classes. They were pretty evenly matched. And then participants were assigned to each group randomly just at the beginning of the year with whatever students were enrolled in kindergarten. And it included all students with or without a disability or an individualized education program. 84% of the students in the school are also on free and reduced lunch. So both the experimental and control group participants were taught the same topic, standards, and materials were used, but the difference was in the way instruction was delivered. So in project-based learning, it's more student-centered and driven more by the student's choices, whereas skills-based learning is more on the instructor's choices, and it's the direct teaching of the reading skills. And this was during 2 hours and 40 minutes of each day, and this kind of shows a breakdown of when that was used. And so this is an example of the running record assessment that was used as a pre and a post test. This shows what the students would be reading, and it had 2 books per level from level AA all the way up to Z. And this is kind of an example of the booklet the teachers would use to record the participants' scores for that. And so the results of the study, this compared the results statistically by using the mean percentage scores on each group's running record assessment. And it was done using an independent samples t-test. So these are the results for the accuracy. Group 1 is the experimental group using project-based learning, and group 2 is the control group using skills-based learning. And so it had a p-value of less than 0.001. And then for comprehension, again, group 1 was the experimental group, and group 2 was the control group, and it had a p-value of 0.752 and the post-test of 0.095. And so that tells me that it was not significant for comprehension. So the study predicted that teaching reading using project-based learning instead of the skills-based learning would improve the early reading skills in kindergarten students. And the students who were taught using the project-based learning in the experimental group did increase their comprehension and accuracy in reading. But for comprehension, the numbers were not significant. It wasn't a significant enough differentiation. So some of the limitations of the study are that students in the group could have started out lower. So in group 2, they may have come in lower, and there's no way of really knowing that. And there's no way of knowing if they did or did not have preschool previously with the study. Another limitation is there's no way to tell the extent of the parent involvement at home, if there was parent involvement, and if they helped them at all with their reading and literacy skills. And then also the teachers giving the assessment. So they met to make sure that the assessments were given in the same manner, but there's no 100% guarantee that was followed without having a recording of it. Some of the implications, so the students will struggle less, hopefully, and have a positive outlook on school. The teachers would have more time to work with the students and build those positive relationships because they would be spending less time on interventions and helping students catch up, because they would be spending more time showing them how to use skills and investigate on their own and collaborate with others in the classroom. And then another implication is that parents would have a closer relationship with the teacher and also their child by seeing their children's love of reading and knowing what sparks their students' interests will help them to kind of have a closer relationship with the teacher. By being able to provide the teacher with the knowledge of those things. Some things that could be done in the future is we could compare between the different elementary buildings. Both of these classrooms were in the same elementary, so comparing across the district for different kindergarten classrooms would be interesting to see if, as far as demographics, if they were the same, and then the success of group 1, if it was still more successful on accuracy for project-based learning. It would be nice to compare over a longer period of time, so maybe have a spring assessment and an assessment at the end of the year, just to really get a picture of the students' growth over the entire year and not just a small period of time. Compare the parent involvement, so back to if they did help them a lot with reading skills at home and how involved they really were with their students' education. And then also it would be nice to compare male versus female to see if that has an effect on project-based learning. If one succeeds a little more than the other using this style of teaching, if English language learners benefit more than non-English language students, and also those in poverty, if it helps them or if there's no effect. And so the findings from the study suggest that project-based learning is an effective teaching strategy to be used to teach literacy for kindergarten students. It will increase the accuracy for sure, but it needs a little more research to know if it will truly increase comprehension over a period of time. This is great news because it could mean less time spent on interventions, more time spent in the classroom with children, and really teaching them to love learning. It can help districts to decide if this is something they would like to use for reading instruction. And as a teacher, this can help you decide and help me decide if it's something we would want to use for all subject areas. Again, there needs to be a little more research on some of the different aspects of it. But students will definitely be more prepared for the real world with project-based learning because they will have more motivation to learn and they will know how to work in a group, which is something that's very important to employers. And if it's ingrained into their lives from the very start of school in kindergarten, then it will definitely come more naturally and they will become lifelong learners and learn how to investigate and find their own answers without always being told by a teacher what the answers are. So thank you very much for watching my presentation. Here's a couple slides on the references that were used throughout it. So thank you again for watching.